See where we. Anybody on the YouTube side? I just want to make sure it say live, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah, let me got my YouTube page open too. I'm gonna share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live. Peace, big brother. What's that? Robert Rand.
Robert Rand, peace.
Oh, hold on. No, we ain't on.
Yeah, we are.
I don't see it on mine. Let me do.
Yeah, we on.
Okay.
Yeah, back over because bro Robert Rand said peace, brother. Peace, brother Robert Rand. Give us just a minute, man. We're gonna get started, man.
We got Mr. Kayla in the chat. Peace.
Yeah, yeah. I know she's gonna help share it. Oh, we got 7 in here.
Holding it down. We got to get Mo back in rotation.
Yeah.
Or did you fire her? That's why she been gone.
Who? Mo. Yeah. You fired her, then brung her back, and rehired her, then fired her again. I don't think I'm gonna rehire no more.
We had to hire Sister Kayla.
Yeah, oh, Sister Kayla.
What's that noise, Kofi?
Just darn silly.
It's an alarm going off over there. Like, I mean, he ain't done nothing to it. He just.
Oh, you know, had the alarm going off. I'm just sitting there while it's going off.
Yeah.
Dang. It's that ceiling fan, man. I'm finna turn it off. Ever since them antibiotics, man, they gave me, man, they've been having me hot about it, man, and I've been hot, man, hot and just sweating for no reason, man. That's that stuff coming out of me, though.
Yeah, it's that cold coming up out you.
Yeah, and I'm that bacteria infection. All right, shoot, I ain't sharing it nowhere else. All right, we can jump into it. Let me turn this fan off, fam, and I'll jump right into it. Turn my alarm off. This tip said. All right. First, I want to say welcome back to Kofi Piesie TV. I am Ren E. Kofi Piesie. Ren E means my name. My name is Kofi Piesie. I want to say Black African Power family. I got Satep and Rob Maybe Harmon on the panel. I got Bassa Nicolo on the panel, and maybe some of the other Kofi Piesie affiliates, and maybe join the panel a little bit later. Peace, brother Sanel. Peace, Sanel. Sanel, peace, LB. Peace, Mario Foster. Again, peace, brother Robert Rand. Sanel, if you want to get on the panel, man, just holler at me in the chat, and I'll get one of them to put the link in the chat if you want to join Want to join the panel. Before I share my screen, man, it's a tip. But boss, if y'all got anything, man.
No, I ain't got much, man. I just ready to glad. First and foremost, I'm glad to see you back in good health, good spirit. If y'all don't know, the brother Kofi was down for a little bit, but he back. So yeah, yeah, ready to get into this conversation about the Berlin conference stuff. It's something that needed to be talked about. So I'll be having my little 2 cent where it's needed.
Water, water, water.
Uh, Peace to the panel, peace to the chat. As always, like and share the show.
Bright son, bright son. Y'all talk a little low now. I'm live. Um, yeah, and also Fatmu Lafayette, Fatmu Iwa Pele. uh Majuba Iba E, Majuba Iba E Gungun, Majuba Iba E Gungun, Majuba Iba E Lakba, Majuba Iba E Lakba, E Gungun Kiki, E Gungun Kiki. I always want to give honor and praises to the ancestors because again, without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. We are our ancestors. I also always want to give honor and praises to those elders that in my opinion, that meets African criteria of being an elder. And let's get into it, man. Oh, man. I should have played this earlier. And what's up, guys? And today I'm here with my girlfriend. She's letting me go. Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme creature of creation. When man becomes possessor of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. His faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man. Raising my team, red, black, and green. Queen, the king, salute, now scream, I should. Bring forth another hit, I should. Five, I'm raising my team, red, black, and green. Queen, the king, salute, now scream, I should. Bring forth another hit, I should. Five, I should. Ashe. All right, today's conference is called the Berlin Conference of 1884 through 1885, the Scrambling for Africa, by myself, Kofi Piesie. I always have to put a disclaimer out here before I get started. My disclaimer is I am not a teacher, but merely a student sharing information. And that information provided is for the educational purpose only. And if you are in doubt, do the research and have it verified by someone qualified. I reserve the right to change the focus of this presentation to shut down, sell, or exchange the terms or use at my own discretion. All trademark, design rights, copyrights, registered names, mottos, logos, avatars, and sigma marks used or cited by this website or this property of their respective owners. I reserve the right to add information as it comes available or adapt, change, improve information as it comes available in the future. Input wanted, changes, additions, deletions are encouraged. This is my saying. Those that follow me know this is a powerful saying to me. As I learn, we all learn. I think as we continue to expand our mind, educate ourselves, I think we should pass down that information from one to another. So as I learn, I'm gonna continue to share information. So as I learn, we all learn. And my new saying, let's get this culture. Because again, we are at war with our culture, and a lot of us don't even know what our culture is, what our tradition, what heritage we stand from, or whatever. So again, let's get this culture. All right, the Berlin Conference. The Berlin Conference of 1884 through 1885 marked a climax of the European competition for territory in Africa, a process commonly known as the Scramble for Africa. During the 1860s and earlier 1800s, early 1800s, the European nations such as Great Britain, France, Germany begins looking to Africa for natural resources for their growing industrial sectors as well as the potential markets for the goods that these factories produces. As a result, these governments sought out safeguards, their commercials and interests in Africa, and began sending scouts into the continent to secure treaties from the indigenous people on their supposed representatives. Similarity, Belgium King Leopold II. We'll talk about him a little bit later on when we get into this Central Central Africa, who aspired to increase his personal wealth by acquiring African territory, hired agents to lay claims to the vast tracts of the land in Central Africa to protect Germany commercial interests. Germany Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, who was otherwise uninterested in Africa, felt compelled to stake claims in Africa land. Inevitable, the scramble for the territory led to the conflict among the European powers, particularly between British and France in West Africa, Egypt, the Portuguese and British in East Africa, and the French and King Leopold in Central Africa. Rivalry between Great Britain and France led Bismarck to inverse, and late 1884 he called a meeting to the European powers in Berlin. So first you had some of the European powers, British and British and France was trying to get parts in Africa. Not parts. I mean West Africa and Egypt. Then uh, hold on, was it? Hold on, was it? Okay, yeah, and the British and Portuguese. Uh, and then you had the British in East Africa, and then you had the French. The French was in the Central Africa. That's right, was in Central Africa, um, as well as the Belgium, uh, and hold on, y'all, I'm blind. I can't even see. But yeah. But again, you had uh, French and the British in West Africa, Egypt, and the Portuguese. And you had the British in East Africa. Then you had French also that was in Central Africa as well. All right, the Berlin Conference. The purpose of the Berlin Conference. Man, what's going on? In 1884, the request of Portugal, Germany, and Chancellor Otto von Bismarck called together a major Western power of the world, negotiated questions, and to end confusion over the control of Africa. Bismarck appreciated the opportunity to expand Germany's spheres and the influence over Africa and desired to force Germany rivals to struggle within one another's territory. And all of these powers that we're talking about, all of these countries that we're talking about, these was rival countries that was fighting, that was known for fighting against each other. And now you had this certain individual who came together, who put together this conference, the Berlin Conference, and these countries got together, came together for one common goal, and that common goal was to carve Africa and rape it of its natural resources. At the time of the conference, 80% of Africans remained under the tradition and the local control, what ultimately resulted in a hodgepodge of geometric boundaries and divided Africa into 50 irregular countries. I'm going to read that again. What ultimately resulted was a hodgepodge of a geometric boundaries was superimposed over 1,000 industrial cultures and a region of Africa. The new countries lacked rhyme, and reason, and divided coerced groups of people and merged together the disparate groups who really did not get along. All right, here are some of the parts. Before we go any further, we're talking about them carving up. So you had the Berlin, you had France, Berlin, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Spain, the United States, and the United States. Yes, the United States had had his part, a little small hand, in with the Berlin Conference. So you can see here in the yellow, you have the Belgium. We're looking at Central Africa here, and we're gonna get more into it. We're gonna talk a little bit more about King Leopold, Leopold II. You got France, all up in here, West Africa. You got Germany here. You got Italy around off in here, and on top. You got Portugal here. You got Spain. I mean, the United States, and you got Spain up in here.
That one Kofi is United Kingdom. You hear me?
I mean, shoot, yeah, the United. Wow, I'm saying the United States, but yeah, the United Kingdom.
Okay. And before you go to the next slide, we need to shed some light on the independent country as well, Ethiopia. Ethiopia remained an independent country. They wasn't conquered um, through the imperialists of the Berlin Conference. So just
Yeah.
want to let that be known as well.
Okay. Shoot, man, something going on with my darn eyes, man. Oh, hold on. Let me adjust my laptop, y'all. Give me a second, cause it's hard looking at this. All right. The countries represented at the Berlin conference. You had 14 countries was represented by the Pythagoras of ambassadors, Pythagoras of ambassadors, and the conference opened in Berlin on November the 5th, 1884. The countries represented at a time included Australia slash Hungary, uh, Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Britain, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Russia, Spain, Sweden, Norway, unified from 1884 to 1905. Turkey and the United States of America. Like I said, United States did have its parts in there of the conference. Of these 14 nations, France, Germany, Great Britain, and Portugal were the major players in the conference, controlling most of the colonies in Africa and what's the name. That's why you hear more about France, Germany, Britain, Portugal, um, more because they was more major players in there. They carved out more places in Africa than anybody else did. All right. Uh, the Belgian conference task. The initial task of the conference was to agree that the Congo River and the Niger River, mouth of the Balsam, will be considered neutral and open to trade. Despite the neutrality, the part of the Congo Balsam became a personal kingdom for the Belgian king Leopold II, and under his rule, over a half a region of population death. All right, Leopold II. I just throw something up here real quick from Wikipedia about Leopold. I'm not gonna read a whole lot about Leopold for some people that want to know about this wicked man that did a whole bunch of wicked things in the Congo. Uh, Leopold II, well, let's just say born in Brosco, second of the eldest survivor, Leopold II, Louis of Orleans. He succeeded his father to the begin a throne of 1865, and he reigned for 44 years until his death, the longest reign of the Belgian monarchy. He died amongst the survival heir. Current Belgian king descended from his nephew and successor, Albert II. Leopold was the founder and sole owner of the Congo Free State. His private projects undertake his own behalf, and he used Henry Morton Stanley to help him claim to the Congo, the present Democratic Republican of the Congo, uh, at the Belgian Congress of 1884 to 1885. I am not even finna read all this, but for most people that want more information about uh, Leopold, he was a torturer, he was a murderer, he was a maniac, and etc. That's all I can say about this individual. He did a lot of wicked things down in Central Africa. All right. At a time during the conference, only a coastal area of Africans were colonized by the European power. As the Berlin Conference, the European colonial powers scrambled to gain control over the interior of the continent. The conference lasted until February the 22nd, 1885, a 3-month period where colonial powers haggled over geometrical boundaries in the territory of the continent, disregarding the cultural and linguistic boundaries already existing in the indigenous African population. Found in the conference, the gives, the takes continued. By 1914, the conference participants had fully divided amongst themselves into 50 countries. The General Acts fixing as the following points. The Free States of the Congos was confirmed to as a private property of the Congo Society. Thus, the territory of today, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the 2 million square kilometers was made essentially the property of Leopold II because of the territorial regime instated it would finally become the Belgian colony. And the 14 signatories powers would have free trade throughout the Congo basin, as well as Lake Nicaea in the east, and this is in the area of the south. And again, it says the 14 powers, uh, but most of the ones that we know about who carved out most was the French, Belgium, the United Kingdom, um, England, and France. The Niger and the Congo rivers were made free for shipping trades. The international prohibitors of the slave trades was signed. The participant was set that power could only possess colonial colonies if they actually possessed their principles and effectives. Any fresh acts of taking possessions or any portions of African coast would have to be notified by the powers taking possession or assuming the predatory to their signatory powers. It is also noteworthy that the first reference in an international act to the obligation attached to the spheres of influence is contained in the Belgium Act. All right, major colonies holding included Great Britain. And again, it was 14, but these are the major high rollers that I said that carved out bigger pieces in Africa than those other countries did. So you have Great Britain here. Great Britain desires of Cape to Cairo collection of the colonies almost succeeded through their control of Egypt, the Sudan, Uganda, Kenya, uh, British East Africa, South Africa, and Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. The British also controlled the Nigeria, Ghana, Gold Coast. Then you have France, so they was in East. So you have here, you had they was in North Africa, East Africa, and in West Africa, Great Britain, bro. So you got here, you have France. France took much of Western Africa from the Mediterranean to Chad, French West Africa, and the Gabon, and the Republic of the Congo, French uh, Equatorial Africa. So France was also had a piece of Central Africa as well as Belgium. Belgium and King Leopold II controlled the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which was called Belgium Congo. Then you had Portugal. We all know about Portugal. The Portuguese took Mozambique in the east and Angola in the west. The Italians were holding Somalia, which became the Italian Somalian land, is a portion of Ethiopia. Germany took Namibia, Germany, Southern Africa, and Tanzania, which is Germany, East Africa. So Germany was in East Africa. Then you have Spain. Spain claimed a small territory in Guyana. So you had Spain that was in Guyana, which was in West Africa. Now the scrambling of Africans spread it up after African countries. Within a few years, African was at least noticeably divided upon South and the Sahara. By 1895, only the settlement in Liberia, Orange Free States, and the Transvaal remained independent. The Albanese was able to fend off the Italian invasions from Eritrea, which lasted from 1889 to 1896 in what is known as the first continent of Africa. By 1902, 90% of all of the land that makes up Africa was under European control. So they saw it from 1884 to 85, y'all, with the Belgium Conference. It took 3 years, um, to set everything up. Um, by 1902, again, 90% of Europeans had done carved up a nice piece for themselves in Africa. The large part of the Sahara was French, while after the quelling of the Mahdi rebellion and the ending of the Fashana crisis, the Sudan remained firmly under joint British-Egyptian rulership. The Boer states were conquered by Great Britain in the Boer Wars from 1899 to 1902. Morocco was divided between the French and the Spain in 1911, and Liberia was conquered by the Italians in 1912. The official British uh, uh, annexation of Egypt in 1914 ended the colonial division of Africa. By this point, all of Africa, with the exception of Liberia and Ethiopia, was under the European control. So I had it in here too, Satep, where you said Ethiopia remained an independent uh, state. Also, Liberia was the same. They had no influence by the European during this time. Africa are high due to the continent rich abundance in raw material. Africa is estimated to contain 90% of the entire world supply of plutonium and cobalt. I'm gonna read this again because we're talking about now. We're going to talk about why these rival European countries came together during this conference and talked and strategized on who was going to get what part or what, and what qualified them to get certain parts of Africa and etc. And etc. And these are some of the reasons why these people went into Africa to rape them of the natural resources. So let's talk about some of the natural resources that uh, Africa had that these individuals wanted. Africa are high due to the continent's rich abundance in raw material. Africa is estimated to contain 90% of the entire world supply of platinum and cobalt, half of the world's gold supply, two-thirds of the world magnesium, and 35% of the world uranium. It is also the account nearly 75 of the world's coltan, an important mineral used in the electronic devices. Yes, this is the coltan is used in these smartphones that we had. Electronic device, including cell phones. China has also expanded its military presence into Africa and rivals in the United States of investments in military active. Their investments in the continent has also been the topic of discussion for the United States and China is ongoing trade negotiation and a political deliberation. Yes, we have the China now that's in Africa, been in there for quite some time. Now these are my sources, um, my references to the presentation. This is a presentation I put together maybe about a month and a half ago, and shoot, wasn't doing anything tonight, so I said I guess I'll just do a show tonight and do something on the Berlin conference as I already had in instead something small, something simple, just something just to show how Africa was carved up like a turkey, and divided amongst the French, the British, uh, United Kingdom, Germany, Belgium, the United States, the Italians, and so forth.
Hey,
Excuse me.
Kofi. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting here thinking about is I seen that last slide talking about how China has got their hand in the pot now. Now we
Mm-hmm.
know based off history that the Europeans they came in Africa mainly through force, um, and the Muslim as well. Because I believe it's about I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head, but I'll say about 80%. Excuse me, 80% of Africa is a Muslim. Um, it may be lower though, but how's the Chinese man getting in there? Because he ain't coming through force. You
Nah, he's
know,
not coming through force. I mean, he's offering, um, China is offering them, is so-called offering them a better opportunity for is bringing more, you could say lights, uh, technology, um, low interest rates on loans. I mean, they coming in and offering all types of things right now in Africa. They ain't coming in trying um trying to I mean they ain't coming in like the Muslim or the Muslim
now
and the European
let me add this. Let me
Satep,
add this. Go ahead.
you might want to study the Ming Dynasty. I can't recall right off the back what years this was, but they was already having a foothold in Africa and part of the slave trade in between 1368 and 1644. And you can see accounts of them being a part of the slave trade and getting footing in Africa. Um, in Africa and China, you can find evidence of this. And what killed that slave trade, look at where their dynasty died out in 1644. What killed the slave trade on that was the birth of the slave trade on the west coast of Africa. But China has had a history there, uh, from Madagascar into the central and southern parts of Africa as well. This is how
Mm,
giraffes and things like that made it to China.
right.
Mm.
Have to look into that. But see, what I was gonna say is, since they coming in with the loans now in modern day times, they coming in with loans. They coming in bringing infrastructure. They bringing technology. Should we look as the so called yellow man or Asian as an ally?
I mean that's the way they looking at them over there, man. They welcome them in, man. They welcome them in. I done read some mixed things for some things that they say going on with China being over there. I mean, can kind of be the downfall because they moving in over there. I mean, I seen where they having issues when and I would too. Issues where you got a Chinaman becoming a chief in Africa now. Um, I mean, it's a few little things that I read up far that far as they say that they are in there kidnapping some of the natives and selling organs. I mean,
Yeah, I can see that.
yeah, yeah, selling organs, man. So like I said, I've been trying to look at both sides of it, read both sides. So I see some negative of them being over there, and then I see a lot of good as them being over there. I mean, like I know, like I said, like far as like with the loans, you know what I'm saying? They not getting bust over the head with the loans, low interest rate. Uh, they don't have a quick turnaround to pay the loans back if they would, if they were saying if the United States gave them loans. I mean, uh, that like I said, they offering more technology, building more infrastructures in Africa. Like I said, man, and a lot of them is looking on to them as allies. And I forgot they hadn't too long. They had a meeting, a conference. I can't even think of the name of the conference, man. Like I said, because I had did this about a month and a half ago when I was looking into the conference that they had. Man, I can't even think of the name of it. Let me see. I can't even think of the name of it. China is in Jamaica. But yeah, but like I said, man, I mean they looking at us as allies, man, and they've been there for a little while now too, man. They've been there for a little while now too. I mean, they've been there for a few years now.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, China's a world power. You know,
you know.
it's a world power. So, um, yeah, I don't know. It's just something to look into. But
So
yeah, one of the other brothers.
what do y'all think the long term effects on this gonna be? Because we know that most of these East Asians feel the same way that the Europeans feel about us. So what do y'all think of the long term effects of this?
Man, uh, I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't. You know, honestly, I don't know. I mean, I'll say, well, I do have my reservations. I'm kind of scared. Uh, you know that eventually they gonna come and they gonna take it over. I mean that you know that's what I'm kind of scared of in the long run. You know they issuing out because I think they issuing out billions and billions of dollars in Africa now. I forgot I was the conference that I was, but they had just agreed. I mean the conference I can't even think of the name of the conference. It'll come to me in a minute, but I know they had came to agreement. The African nations and them had came to an agreement, and they was China was going to be issuing out in the next, I think up until 2022, they was going to be issuing out a big old number. I know it's billions of dollars. I just feel like that. That's the only thing that I'm afraid of that. Particularly, they may come in and try to take Africa over. Um, you know, as their own. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, they're trying to widen their bases as well. I mean, they want those same natural resources that the Europeans wanted back in 1804. When they had the meeting in 1804 and 1805. I mean, 1884 through 1885. You know, is to get those natural resources that those European countries had during that particular time. So we'll have to wait and see what I mean, what you think about it, Sutet?
I feel about the same way. I think after so long, it'll be a takeover. Because like I said, man, we already know how they feel about us. So, it ain't gonna be sweet for too long. That's just what I feel.
Yeah, I mean, like I got started. My reservations was the same too. You know, that's my only fear.
And we quick to let people in to our culture and our societies and our communities. Just like you just said, you seen an Asian queen just yesterday. That's crazy you said that because just yesterday I seen a video with in Togo they got a white queen.
Mm.
I'm gonna share that. I'm gonna show y'all that video, man. It's crazy. I didn't know whether to believe it or not, but yeah, man.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, if anybody in the chat got any questions,
I seen on the book where it was a Asian priest over there in Africa. He
yeah,
was like doing. You seen that?
yeah,
I'm looking like, man, is they serious?
yeah,
Like they getting rocked to sleep over there by Asians now? It's like, come on,
mm,
don't let no Asian rock me to sleep like that. So I don't know, man.
yeah. I'm trying to walk through here and see if anybody had any. It's like questions. But ain't nobody got no questions, man. Yeah. Well, shoot, ain't nobody got no more questions. Like I said, I wasn't trying to keep nobody. I was a little bored, and I had this little presentation off in the stash for about a month and a half. I said I might as well just go ahead and go live and do something. I wasn't getting no attention at home, so I said, let me get on with my Facebook family. They might give me some attention for a few minutes, man. A few people anyway, man. Shoot.
I wouldn't I wouldn't be me if I didn't at least pose a thought provoking question. Um, some of y'all have heard me say always study the modes of production. Anytime you see a mode of production change, be aware that you're going to see some form of revolution take place. Isn't it ironic that the moment that they end the slave trade and emancipate us, the Berlin Conference takes place? Do y'all think for one moment that that was not a contributing factor? And Kofi, you heard me talking earlier. I was gonna stay quiet about it and just let it segue until tomorrow. But with Leviston and his expeditions into Africa, him, um, J.A. Hunter, and I want to say another man, Henry Stanley, they began to make accounts of that word I told you about, bomas, how Africans had their family compounds, and they was calling them bomas, and was fortifying them. This is that word would exact. That's exactly where majority of the Berlin Conference would later be titled to take place in Boma and become the capital of Congo once upon a time. That's just
Mm,
some little extra stuff to think about. But I'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow.
yeah.
But yeah, I do want to restate that question. Um, what aspect, if any aspect, has anybody done into researching that maybe a big part of the Berlin Conference stems from the death of the slave trade and what economic problems that would cause for them? Because you got to remember, right before they was taking mineral resources, they was taking us as an economic resource more
Yep.
than anything at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. You correlated them two, because they freed us. Then the next year they have a conference over. Okay, we're gonna free them, but we're gonna just take the land. You know, it's crazy. I'm glad you
Well,
said that.
I mean, look at it here. Look at how many brothers and sisters often get robbed by buying land, but then they don't own the mineral rights.
Hmm.
They've always had these little trick games to play. Are we gonna give you this area? You go out there, you start doing whatever it may be to develop the land. You find out there's a resource there, but because you don't own the mineral rights, now you have to pay us for that. So you see this system develop over and over and over again. But I don't want to get too long winded. Y'all know me, because I'll get to
Oh,
thinking and
no, you
going and
good,
going.
man. Yep. And I mean, and it's crazy, man. Everybody know how important our homeland is, but us. We'll run away from Africa. I mean, we won't go visit Africa. I mean, everybody else know how um important Africa is and how like I said, these rivals right here. You had these people was rivals against each other, and these people say that wait a minute, let's look. Let's come together. Let's come together. Hold on, yeah. Hello. What are you talking about? Yeah, well, nobody there. I'm gonna call you back in a minute. I'm live. Are you? Uh, but like I'm saying, now you got the Asian. They in there. They know how important it is. So they trying to go over there and do business and etc. over there. Everybody else is running toward Africa, but we is running away from Africa, man. That's crazy to me. And that was one of the reasons why at the end of the slide I wanted to show why these Europeans, and not only why these Europeans, but the same reason the Europeans over there, now you have the Asians that are over there too. So let's talk about some of those natural resources that was those important resources that's in the ground over there. And everybody else is getting rich and passing generational wealth down from one generation to the next by by getting rich, man, and they going to the places where they're able to get the natural resources in. So we are the only folks, what I'm saying, that is not. I mean, I don't know. I just don't get it. This running away from the place, man, where it's abundance of everything at, man. Well, we could be okay, could be okay, man. But we want to continue to run away from it, man. Or the
Yeah.
that's
Another
just,
another issue you'll run into is the importation of other goods into Africa, to where your own goods that you produce become less valuable. Uh, we're gonna have to get into that as well. For example, look at Ghana and all the chocolate they produce, but how little they receive in return for it. If you get where I'm going. So
hmm
if you have China and all these superpowers bringing in produce, meats, clothing, and you're trying to produce and get established there on your own land, that's going to choke you out. But that comes along with capitalistic thinking and the steady increase we see into globalization. Because we're looking at it like, oh, cool, now I can buy and sell stuff to China uh, from from whatever state we're located in. I didn't want to pinpoint one spot. Let's just say Alabama. You start in a t-shirt business in Alabama, and you think, oh, now I can sell to China. But China may have its own laws to say we're not buying anything from outside our people. So we sit back and we say, well, what can we do? I'm gonna sell here.
and that's what most of them do. They ain't finna buy. You go to some of these stores now that they own these. Ain't that them in the nail shop? Ain't that them that's in the hair shop? The hair shops, the extension shop. Go on there with some hair. Talking about you can sell them some hair for the low low. go, on, go on there. Tell you go in one of them shops. Tell you can sell them some of that cuticle stuff that they got for the low low. Boxes of cuticle stuff for the low low. Watch what they tell you. Watch what they tell you. Yo,
My
them a
bad, y'all.
little.
I got a phone call. But yeah, you picked up where my thoughts was kind of going. Well, at least that's what I heard. The hair and nail industry,
Yeah.
and and that's a prime example of it. And I don't want to deter anybody or dishearten anybody, because it's highly possible that we can become success, but this goes back into utilization of our skills and the uniting of our skills and supporting one another. That's been the number one theme of everyone who stood up in the past, is support one another and watch where it gets you. And if you don't think it gets you anywhere, look at the rest of the world. Look how they're growing and becoming powerhouses, and we are still searching for power, and we not maximizing our number one resource, which is each other.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing to say to my kids is this: Beyonce didn't get rich just because she can sing and money came out the clouds. It was a group of people supporting her dream to become a singer that helped her get to where she is. And we need to see that same thing in every aspect. Kofi and Satep need to be supported in their endeavors to become teachers or leaders in the community, just as much as we support the entertainment of the community. And often, way too often, we support the destruction of the community. Everybody will run off to a plug, everybody will run off to a liquor store, but won't nobody run off to the organizations that's trying to clean up the results of the drugs and the results of the liquor stores, when you see the trash in the streets, when you see the
Mm-hmm.
broken glass there and the broken families. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get too long winded, but
Yeah,
y'all know
yeah.
how I am.
Oh man, you good, you good, you good. Yeah, man. Um, well, I'm trying to look on here one more time before I end the show, man. But y'all check out my article if y'all hadn't checked out my article, man. Y'all get some time. It's called "What is an Elder and What is the Role of an Elder." You can go to www dot excuse me www dot Kofi Piesie written composition dot wordpress dot com to get that. That's my new blog site. I'll be putting up a lot of articles. I'm going to start putting up a lot of different articles on that blog site. You can also find it on blackpantherseer.com. That's www dot blak PATNA. That's Black Panther Seer SERER.com. So it's on two. It's published on two different sites. My new website and Brother Panther's website. So you can read the article on either one, and also be looking out. Maybe I'll have it published on my website next week. Um, it should be because I'm done. I just gotta add a few more thoughts, my ending thoughts. But it's called uh does the conscious community have good character, and what is the role of does the conscious community have good character, and what is good character? So I'm gonna be talking about briefly my introduction into this so-called conscious community. uh, I'll be talking about good character, explaining good character. I'm always going to be talking about stuff from an African standpoint. So I'll be discussing what is good character from an African standpoint. So I'll be talking about what is good character from different ethnic groups and not just from one. Different ethnic groups. I'll be talking about some of the things. Hold on, hold on. But anyway, y'all, yes, and I'll be talking about some of the things that's going on in the conscious community. Why I pose the question: does the conscious community have good character? And then I'll be mirroring some of those characteristics of what intertwine into good character, and then we'll mirror it with the conscious community, and y'all can make y'all own assertion at the end of the article. Does the conscious community have good character, or does it not have good character? But be on the lookout for that. Maybe I'll publish it next Saturday. So be looking forward. It'll be on again www dot Kofi Piesie. That's KOFI Piesie Piesie written compositions dot wordpress dot com, where you can find the new article, and you can find right now the article I have about what is an elder and what is the role of elder on that, as well as blackpantherseal.com. And also be look on the lookout tomorrow for a powerful presentation by my brother Vasa. He's going to be doing a presentation tomorrow. You can speak briefly about it, Vasa, before we jump off of here.
Yeah, and why I do this, can the chat give a preference on times they'll be available, so we can kind of pan out when would be a good time to present as well. But yeah, I'm gonna do a three-part series or presentations on the Black family. Tomorrow I'll be starting from our arrival here in the Americas, and I'll end it at our, our emancipation period, 1865 roughly. And I'll be talking about what kept the family together, what were some of the obstacles we faced, basically give a survey and build up into the current states of the Black family.
Yes, I'm ready for that. So y'all stay tuned for that
Um,
tomorrow. And also next week we'll be back next Saturday. Um, to do part 4 of how white folks got rich. Me and brother Satepara Mary will be doing part 5 on how white folks got so rich. So if you not up to speed on how white folks got rich, so rich, part 1, part 2, and part 3, you can they already in the archives. You can check them out at any time. Uh, and that's it, man. I ain't got my other last slide. Well, I have up there, but please go and support Seshu, my Ani Metanetra group. Go and support Kofi Piesie TV, and go and support my Warrior Clan YouTube channel. Please go and support us. Uh, um, That's all, man. I got, man. Until next time, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Sorry I started out kind of slow, man. I don't know what was going on. I think them is lightning and them white lights on that orange, man. I couldn't even hardly see. But again, appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. We'll see y'all tomorrow on Kofi Piesie TV for part one of our presentation. We out. Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme creature of creation. When man becomes possessor of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. This faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man. I'm raising my team, red, black, and green. Queens and kings, salute, now scream. I should bring proof of the I should. I'm raising my team, red, black, and green. Queens and kings, salute, now scream. I should bring proof of the I should. I should.